guys, today I'm coming at you with 6 big weight loss myths that oftentimes prevent people from making the progress that they want to make and seeing the results that they want to see. I made a video in January with some other big weight loss myths, and these just didn't make the cut for that video because it literally just got too long. So I still wanted to include these. So this is just like a part 2, more weight loss myths to be aware of. If you haven't seen the first video, in it, I covered the following myths: that weight loss makes you look more toned, that there's a best diet for weight loss, that you have to track calories to lose weight, that you need to do cardio to lose weight, and that you have to be perfect to see progress. So if any of those myths were like, what, that's a myth, I'll link that video down in the description box for you so you can check that out as well. But understanding that the following 6 very common beliefs about weight loss actually are not true will greatly help you with your journey if you are on a weight loss slash fat loss journey. Honestly, some of these will also help with like muscle building, general health as well. So stick around if you have any fitness or health-based goals. So if you're excited for some myth busting and some science to back up said myth busting, give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and let's just get into it. This first one's a controversial one. Oh boy, this is gonna be fun. First myth that I want to talk about is that a calorie is a calorie. Here's the thing about calories. A calorie is a measurement of energy content. So 1 calorie does in fact have the same amount of energy as 1 calorie. So outside the body, 1 calorie is equal to 1 calorie when you're talking purely about energy that certain foods contain. However, once you put them in the body, it's an entirely different story. Not all calorie sources will have an equal effect on your weight or on your health, even if they have an equal calorie number. Different foods go through different metabolic pathways that can have differing effects on your hunger regulating hormones, your satiety regulating hormones, your fat burning hormones, etc., etc., etc. For example, 1 calorie worth of protein does not process the same way in the body as 1 calorie of carbs or of fat. Replacing carb and fat calories with protein calories can help boost satiety, reduce your appetite and cravings. It can boost your metabolism and cause all sorts of other effects. There's all sorts of different examples of how 1 calorie can process different in the body than another calorie. Another good example is plants. The stronger the cell walls of a certain plant, the less likely that will be able to be broken down during digestion, and therefore fewer calories will actually be absorbed into your body from that food compared to another plant with weaker cell walls. There are also studies to suggest that peanuts, pistachios, and almonds are broken down less completely in the body than other foods that have very similar protein, carb, and fat composition. Therefore, they're less likely to translate to your body absorbing as many calories as they would from other foods with very similar macronutrient and thus calorie composition. There is a study that looked specifically at how many calories people absorb from a serving of almonds, where the serving of almonds theoretically should have led to absorbing 170 calories, because it's like, what's on the nutrition label? People were only absorbing 129 calories. Also, the way we chop, grind, heat, sizzle, saute, ferment, and otherwise process foods can affect how those foods metabolize in the body and thus affect how many calories are absorbed from those foods once you eat them. And these are just some of many examples of how a calorie, once you put it in the body, does not necessarily equate to the body absorbing a calorie. I do have a whole video where I go more in depth into this, give a lot more examples, so I'll link that down in the description box below. Myth number 2 is that eating carbs makes weight loss harder, or that eating carbs just make you fat in general. Here's the lowdown. Quality carbs are quality fuel, and eating more carbs, even if you're trying to lose weight, may actually help you in getting closer to your body composition goals, and there's several reasons why. What you need to know about carbs is that in the body they are broken down into glucose and then stored as glycogen, and glycogen is what your body uses as a main source of energy. It also uses it in muscle repair. In this way, carbs help prevent muscle loss when you are in a calorie deficit to lose weight. Preventing muscle loss is super important, because if you lose your muscle as you're losing fat, you're just gonna end up at the same body fat percentage, just a little bit smaller, or even a higher body fat percentage, which is normally not what people are going for when they're trying to lose weight. And this is because carbs are muscle sparing, because they give the body more glycogen when the body needs to tap into those glycogen stores to repair muscle and refuel after exercise. The body can just get it from the glycogen from the carbs. If you are depleted of glycogen, the body might start converting muscle into glycogen, and you end up actually burning your own muscle basically for fuel. not ideal. And in the same way, carbs also boost exercise recovery. They also boost exercise performance. And if you're trying to lose fat or build muscle or just get healthier, the better you can perform in the gym, the faster you're gonna get to your goals. Studies show pretty conclusively that an adequate carb intake is necessary for optimal exercise performance. And this is just because, again, carbs get stored as glycogen. Glycogen is your body's main source of fuel, especially during exercise. This next myth is super fun because you can find people on both sides of the argument and they're both wrong. And that is that you have to skip breakfast to lose weight, or you have to make sure you eat breakfast to lose weight. Neither is true. There was a 4-month study done on over 300 adults, which, by the way, for nutrition studies is a good amount of time and a good amount of people, so that's nice to see. Found zero correlation between whether or not the participants ate breakfast or skipped breakfast and how their weight changed over time. The argument that you need to eat breakfast to support weight loss comes from the myth that eating breakfast will boost your metabolism and that eating more small meals throughout the day will keep your metabolism burning longer and burn more fat. Here's the thing. The amount that your metabolism burns through digestion, like from eating food, is the thermic effect of food. That's going to be the same regardless of how many meals you eat. It's entirely dependent on the number of calories you eat, also kind of the composition of the food. But if everything else is the same other than how you space out your meals and when you eat them, the thermic effect of food stays the same. So yes, your metabolism starts burning calories earlier because you're eating earlier, but that just means it burns fewer later on in the day. The idea that you need to skip breakfast comes mostly from the intermittent fasting community, and yes, intermittent fasting can help with weight loss, especially if you have blood sugar issues and it helps fix those, great. Like if skipping breakfast supports your health based on where your body is, by all means do that. I'm not saying like don't skip breakfast or make sure you eat breakfast. But if you don't have the health issues that intermittent fasting helps solve, it's not going to help you either. Here's what you should do in my opinion. Do what makes you feel the best. Eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full. If you feel better throughout the day after having a good breakfast during breakfast time, do that. If you're not hungry during breakfast time or eating early in the day like messes with your workout or just makes you generally feel not as good, go ahead and skip breakfast. Just make sure you're not accidentally not eating enough because you're skipping breakfast. The best way to eat for your goals is usually the way of eating that makes you feel the best, that optimizes your exercise performance, optimizes your energy, optimizes your digestion, all of those good things. The next myth is a big one that I'm super excited to address because I think it might actually help some of you. I mean, hopefully all these are gonna help some of you, but I feel like this is something that doesn't get talked about a lot and may be pretty helpful. And that is that eating out is always unhealthy. Yes, home cooking your food, usually gonna be a little bit healthier. But it is entirely possible to find meals at restaurants and even some fast food places that are not by any means unhealthy and certainly will not negatively impact your aesthetic goals. You just have to be smart about looking at the menu and asking some questions. One of the big reasons people perceive eating out as unhealthy is because oftentimes the dishes we are served, especially in the US, are a lot more calorically dense than what you would make at home. And yes, that's true, but calories aren't inherently unhealthy. You literally need them to survive. So the only caveat to this is if you are trying to lose fat, you're trying to be in a calorie deficit, you know you're gonna go out to a restaurant later, maybe account for the fact that the meal might be a little bit more calorically dense, and so maybe like take a slice of cheese out of your sandwich so you can have a few extra calories for dinner. But the calorie content itself is not inherently unhealthy. Since most restaurants make things like in the restaurant, it's not a lot of highly processed food that you're consuming. It's mostly whole unprocessed ingredients that just kind of get whipped together into a meal for you. The only health related issues with eating out is that oftentimes, yes, the foods do tend to be cooked in more inflammatory oils like seed oils and vegetable oils. Or the foods are cooked or covered in a ton of butter, which is again not inherently unhealthy. If you're intolerant to dairy, that's gonna be inflammatory and it's probably not gonna be the best for you and you're gonna have a lot of digestive issues. So like be careful with the dairy, but also a lot of restaurants are using lower quality dairy, which again can be inflammatory. So you're getting a little bit of the inflammatory effect from the cooking oils and potentially the butter, but those things, as long as you're not consuming them super regularly, aren't going to negatively impact your journey to your goals. And so as long as you're not making a habit of eating out like for every single meal, I don't think it's something you really need to be concerned about. But you can go to so many restaurants and just get like a protein and vegetables. Like there's always something protein and vegetable on menus. You want healthy fast food? Chipotle and Sweetgreen are like my go-to places to get food. food if I'm not cooking for myself. Both of those restaurants are using whole unprocessed foods. They're making literally what I would make at home. Like, I would not make it any differently if I were to make it at home. So why do we perceive the fact that it comes from a restaurant to mean it's going to be unhealthy and it's going to hurt our goals? That's just not the case. Giving yourself permission to order takeout can give you so much more time to allocate towards other things that are actually going to positively impact your journey a lot more than if you were to have cooked for yourself at home. Like getting enough sleep, taking time to de-stress, getting your workouts in. If you need to get Chipotle so that you can make sure all those other 3 things are on point, you're gonna be much better off than if you sacrifice those 3 things to make the Chipotle burrito bowl for yourself at home. The next myth is one that I see tripping a lot of people up and is super important to keep in mind long term. And that's that if something worked before, it will work again. Here's the thing, as your body and your environment changes, your dietary needs and your metabolism change. And by metabolism, I don't just mean like how quickly you can burn calories, I also mean just like how your body takes food and breaks it down and processes it and then uses it for what it needs to use it for. So unless you're living the exact same life that you were 5 years ago, the diet that worked really well for you 5 years ago might not work for you now. There are so many factors beyond what we eat that go into how our body processes food. Sleep, super important. If you're not getting as much sleep or you weren't getting a lot of sleep and now you're getting a lot more sleep, your body's going to process food in a much different way. Also, your stress levels can have a huge impact on how your body metabolizes food. Your exercise routine. Doing cardio versus weight training means calories do much different things in the body. And in that vein, the amount of muscle mass that you have on your body can also impact how your body metabolizes food. And then health issues. If you had health issues in the past, a diet might have worked a lot better for you because it helped correct those health issues. Maybe you've healed from that. Now your body's gonna need something a little bit different to get you to where you wanna be. Or maybe in the last 5 or 10 years, you've developed thyroid issues, hormone imbalances, autoimmune issues, etc. Those things are really going to impact how your body metabolizes food. I see people get caught up in this mentality all the time where something worked really well for them 5 or 10 years ago and now they want to accomplish that thing again, usually weight loss, and so they just keep beating this one thing until it works, and sometimes it just doesn't work, and it's because their body is in a much different place and they don't take that step back, say, okay, let's try something different because clearly this isn't working for me now, and they just get caught up in usually a yo-yo diet cycle. The big thing to make sure you're doing here is listening to your body. If you are trying to force your body to cooperate with a certain diet or lifestyle change or whatever, and it's not, listen to that. Acknowledge that, hey, my body is different now. Things have changed. Let's see what we can optimize and see what we can change to get my body to where I want it to be. Just don't get stuck trying to force something that clearly isn't working. Myth number 6 causes so much unnecessary distress for so many people that are on weight loss journeys. And that is that the faster you're losing weight, the better you're doing. This could not be farther from the truth. If your goal is to lose fat and keep it off long term, fast weight loss is one of the worst ways to get there. Most studies conclude that people who lose weight more slowly are able to keep it off more long term. One of the biggest problems with losing weight faster is that more often than not, the faster you lose weight, the faster you gain it back. Fast weight loss also puts you at a risk of losing muscle mass as you lose weight. And we talked about this already. If you're trying to lose weight, you're probably trying to decrease your body fat percentage. If you're losing muscle at the same time, you might increase your body fat percentage. Not the goal usually. But also the more muscle you lose, the slower your metabolism is, and therefore the harder it is to maintain your lower body fat percentage. Crash dieting for fast weight loss can also impact your metabolism negatively in other ways, not just through muscle loss. Generally, faster weight loss is going to end in tanking your metabolism, which again, gonna make it really hard to keep that weight off once you go back to eating the way you were before, because your metabolism is now burning a lot fewer calories than it was before. You're also putting yourself at risk of nutritional deficiencies. If you're not eating enough to get in all of the nutrients that your body needs, you're hurting your body. literally. A lot of studies show that people who follow a restrictive diet regain at least half the weight within a year and almost all the weight within 3 to 5 years. Whereas lots of other studies show that if you take a more long-term and slow approach to fat loss, you're a lot more likely to keep the weight off long-term. A lot of people will say, oh, but this just comes down to behavior changes and it's because you engage in non-sustainable weight loss behaviors and then you go back to your normal behaviors and so you regain the weight. And honestly, yeah, that's most of it, but you could be like, okay, but what if I adopt healthy behaviors afterwards and I'm suddenly like queen health and all of that good stuff? I shouldn't regain the weight back, right? And it's like, not quite, because of the factors that I just mentioned, where if you're losing muscle mass and you're slowing your metabolism, it doesn't matter how healthy your habits are afterwards, it's gonna be really, really difficult to keep the weight off. If you wanna learn more about how to build healthy and sustainable habits so that weight loss becomes a byproduct of a gradual lifestyle change that's sustainable for you, I recommend checking out my program, Project Comeback. I will link to it down in the description box below. It's literally designed to help take you from where you are now to where you want to be through implementing slow, steady, sustainable changes. And let me know down in the comments if you have believed any of these myths in the past, or if you have any questions about these myths, or if there's any other weight loss myths that have tripped you up. If you liked this video, give it a big thumbs up. It really does support me and my channel. I really genuinely appreciate it. Please share this video with your friends, your family, and your neighbors. If you want to see more videos from me all about health and fitness, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the little notification bell so you get notified when I post a video, and I will see you very soon. Bye!